Hi everybody, this is Matt. Thanks for watching and welcome back. Well, this time I'm going to give you a little bit of testimony of how I learned more about sin from joining the Catholic Church than I ever knew in all of the decades that I was a Protestant and also a Protestant preacher. And some of you are going, what? What are you talking about? Let me explain. As a Protestant and as a Protestant preacher, we all knew that sin was bad, that sin separated us from God. God hates sin. Sin severs our relationship with God, right? And we know that there are big sins out there, like thou shalt not kill, meaning thou shalt not murder, thou shalt not steal, thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's goods, wife, possessions, everything else. We know the big ones, but there are also little ones out there. There are little ones of omission that if we know that we should do something, we don't do it, that's a sin. But a lot of times we gloss over those. And as a Protestant, for me, it was really easy because the way that I was taught, the way that I was trained was, it's as simple as this. God, yeah, I sinned. I'm sorry, forgive me, thanks. And away you go. Doesn't work like that. It's not that easy. That was part of the deception that I was under as a Protestant. Now, when I say that I learned more about sins as a Catholic, I learned the difference between a mortal or a grave sin versus the smaller sins, which are called venial sins. Now, obviously, the mortal and grave sins are the really bad ones, like, don't kill, don't murder, don't steal, don't have false graven images, don't worship other gods, don't do idolatry, all this sort of thing. And in the human heart, that's something that we know that exists. We really do know that. But it's the venial sins, the smaller ones, that are the sneaky ones. And that could just simply be offending somebody, saying, hey Mike, your nose is crooked, your nose is ugly. Well, is that a sin because it offended Mike? Yeah, it is a sin. But it's also a sin if I notice that the widow lady next door is having a struggle getting her garbage out to the curb or anything else. And I could have helped her, but I turned my back on her. Now, if I knew that I was supposed to do good and I didn't, guess what? That's a sin. Well, how I had it explained to me that made perfect sense, that was one of those aha epiphany moments, was obviously we all know that the mortal sins immediately, boom, sever our relationship with God. But the venial sins are the sneaky ones. They subtly chip away at our relationship with God. Suddenly we're not wanting to go to church as much. Suddenly we're not in fellowship with God the way we were before, because as we continue to commit these little venial sins, it just begins to cause a separation like this in our relationship, to the point where we're more likely to commit a mortal sin. And the more venial sins we commit, the less we think about God. And it's like, wow, you know what? I didn't know that. So I'm much more aware of sin today than I've ever been in my life. And before I go to the sacrament of reconciliation, which is confession, I go through basically a checklist, which is called an examination of conscience, because I want to make sure that I don't miss anything. I want to make sure that I confess all my sins to God and that they are forgiven. And God does forgive if we confess and we're doing it with a right heart, with contrition and everything else. Salvation is there. It's just I learned something new when I became Catholic. And I just want to encourage you that if you have questions, anything else like that, you want to ask me a question directly, send me a message. But anyway, until next time, thanks for watching. I appreciate it, and God bless each and every one of you.